Vikings versus Byzantines. Who ruled the medieval world? In the 9th to 11th centuries, two powers, vastly different in geography and culture, found themselves in conflict and cooperation. The Vikings, the fierce Norsemen of Scandinavia, and the Byzantines, the heirs of the Roman Empire in the East. The historical intersections of these two civilizations offer a unique opportunity to explore not only the differences in their military strategies, but also the surprising parallels in their expansive trade networks. Although the Vikings are often remembered as ruthless warriors and raiders, their military prowess extended beyond mere brute force. The Vikings mastered rapid amphibious assaults using their iconic longships, which allowed them to strike quickly and unexpectedly along coastlines and rivers. Their keys to success were speed, surprise, and adaptability. Viking bands were small, but highly mobile, relying on rapid raids that disrupted their opponents and plundered valuable resources before retreating to safety. This guerrilla warfare made them unpredictable enemies, able to exploit weaknesses in the defenses of much larger, stationary armies. By contrast, the Byzantines were heirs to the highly organized Roman military tradition. Their military strategies emphasized discipline, formation, and adaptability on a larger scale. They employed highly trained professional soldiers, including the famous cataphracts, heavily armored cavalry, and made use of complex formations such as the phalanx or testudo. Byzantine military treatises such as Emperor Maurice's Strategikos reveal a focus on logistics, intelligence, and strategy, with careful planning often preceding any military engagement. The Byzantines also had access to advanced technology, most notably Greek fire, a terrifying incendiary weapon used to defend their ships and fortifications. Despite these differences, the two civilizations interacted on the battlefield in various capacities. Viking mercenaries, known as the Varangian Guard, would eventually serve as elite soldiers for the Byzantine emperors. In these roles, the Vikings adapted to Byzantine discipline, while also contributing their fearsome fighting style to the Byzantine military machine. Contrary to their image as mere raiders, the Vikings were also skilled traders and navigators. Their longships, though designed for war, were equally suited to long-distance travel. Viking traders established vast trade routes that stretched from Scandinavia to the Mediterranean, reaching as far as the Abbasid Caliphate in Baghdad and the Byzantine Empire in Constantinople. These routes connected the cold waters of the North Sea to the warm currents of the Black Sea, with important trading posts along rivers such as the Dnieper and the Volga serving as vital conduits for goods. The Vikings exported furs, amber, and slaves, while importing silks, spices, and silver. This network of trade routes contributed to the wealth of Scandinavian societies and allowed Viking leaders to accumulate power and resources. Trade with the Byzantines was especially valuable, as it introduced the Vikings to exotic luxuries and advanced crafts, which further elevated their status at home. The Byzantines, meanwhile, had an even more extensive trading network that stretched across Europe, Asia, and Africa. Constantinople, the capital, was the commercial hub of the medieval world. Byzantine merchants engaged in trade with the Islamic world, the Italian city-states, and the Slavic lands, bringing in goods such as silk, spices, wine, and gold. Their trade routes were closely guarded, and the Byzantine navy played a crucial role in protecting these vital lines, ensuring the empire's wealth and stability. Interestingly, the Vikings were not only traders for the Byzantines, but also occasional enemies. The Byzantine Empire saw several Viking raids on its coastal cities, particularly in the Black Sea region. However, the lure of Byzantine wealth was enough to transform some Vikings from invaders into loyal servants. Through these dual roles as adversaries and allies, the relationship between the Vikings and the Byzantines was deeply interconnected. Exchanges between the Vikings and the Byzantines were not limited to military and economic matters. They also included significant cultural and technological transfers. Vikings who served in the Varangian Guard returned to Scandinavia with goods, ideas, and even Byzantine religious influences. Byzantine art, architecture, and the Orthodox Christian faith left a lasting impact on Viking societies, particularly in places like Kievan Rus, a Viking-founded state that would later adopt Byzantine Christianity as its state religion. At the same time, the Byzantines learned to respect the Vikings' naval prowess, adopting some of their shipbuilding techniques and maritime knowledge. The cross-pollination of ideas, technologies, and cultures between these two very different peoples enriched both civilizations. Comparing the military tactics and trade networks of the Vikings and the Byzantines, it becomes clear that their interactions were shaped by a mix of conflict, trade, and cultural exchange. The Vikings brought speed, ferocity, and maritime expertise to the table, while the Byzantines countered with discipline, advanced technology, and strategic depth. Yet beyond warfare, these two civilizations were also linked by their roles in vast trade networks that spanned continents, exchanging goods and ideas that would shape the medieval world. The story of the Vikings and the Byzantines is not merely one of opposition, but of complex interdependence, an example of how war and trade, even between unlikely partners, can weave a shared history.